Welcome to Surrogacy Talk with me, your fabulous host and family building expert, Frank Golden. I'll be talking about surrogacy, IVF, and making babies. Welcome back, everyone. I am joined by the fabulous Erica.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for being here, Erica.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So today we are going to talk about what things the surrogate can do to be supportive and really help their surrogacy journey be as pleasant as possible for everyone, for intended parents and for themselves. So with that said, I know you have some questions.
Of course I do. So in the very initial phases of, I guess post-matching, what can a surrogate do to help establish that relationship with their intended parents?
So that is a really great question. The first thing that I would say is that if you've gone through an agency, which we hope you have, I'm sure there was some sort of profile exchange or a match call or a Skype call or a meet. What I would say is always go back to your profile and refresh your recollection where your values are concerned. Things that you have said to your intended parents initially are things that you want to hold true throughout your journey.
Yep.
So if you've noted in your Dear Intended Parents letter that you'd like to have a relationship by which they are considered like an extension of the family, remember those things. Introduce them to your husband. Introduce them to your children. Make them feel as involved as possible. So have a refresher, look at the profile, make sure that you're not missing anything. And then, because that's really the foundation of the relationship, they're expecting you to fulfill things that you've put in your profile, and you're expecting them to follow through with things they've put in their profile as well. So definitely take a look at that. But like I said, introduce them to your husband or spouse or partner if you haven't done so already, if everyone hasn't met on the call, your children. And be forthcoming and open.
Be as transparent as possible. And I think at that phase, even though questions have been answered during a match call and the agency, hopefully if you're with the right agency, they've really helped answer a lot of your questions as well. It's very normal for intended parents to have more questions for their surrogates. It's kind of like new to them, where a surrogate's been pregnant before they've built their family. So this may not be as... there might be more understanding of what's going to happen. So I think for a surrogate to just be really open about the questions and okay answering them, even if it's like, oh, I've already kind of answered this, I just answer it again, and be open, willing to help them through this. Understand that they're putting a lot of trust in somebody they don't know very well.
And kick off that communication, immediately after a match, exchange phone numbers, start your communication cadence, your texting, your calls. You really want to kick that off in a strong, robust way, and just try to be as forthcoming and honest and build that communication immediately following match, just so that it's, again, you're building a strong foundation with your intended parents.
And I would imagine if I was trusting a woman to carry a pregnancy for me and I wasn't able to be there maybe in the same state, I would need a lot of reassurance. So what can a surrogate do to reassure her parents throughout the entire pregnancy, from embryo transfer to delivery?
That's a great question. One of the main things a surrogate can do is just be very forthcoming with information.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. Intended parents in situations where geographically there's a barrier there, they can't come to all of the appointments. So don't wait for your intended parents to reach out to you to ask how the appointment went. Either try to take pictures if it's allowed. Right. It's not always allowed in the ultrasound room, but if you can take a photo of the scan, or you can have a lab tech send a picture of the ultrasound.
Call them while you're at the appointment. Have them on the phone on speaker.
Exactly. Have them on speaker so that they can maybe the doctor can say, hi, everything looks great. Be forthcoming with that information. Don't let them have to sit there and wait and guess and bite their nails.
Yeah, be proactive. You're the one, going on the appointment, and you're, in a sense, yes, the intended parents are the one that this is their journey and this is their decision, but you kind of have an element of control in this where you're making the appointments, you're going to the appointments, you're getting the information. And so, and don't put them in that awkward position to wonder, okay, am I jumping on her if I text her now? Did she just leave the appointment yet? just fill them in. It takes 2 seconds of your day to tell them, like, hey, it went really well. It was awesome.
Yes. For Adam and I, we had our surrogate in Pennsylvania. She would FaceTime us during her appointments. Awesome. So, yeah, that kind of stuff really makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And then also, I guess, throughout the pregnancy, how can a surrogate kind of address some of the things that she's going through without maybe freaking out her intended parents? I mean...
Yeah, I think, what I always say is honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
You don't want to freak them out. You want to be transparent and give them that information, but don't play up the drama, if you will, because it might be something minor, and maybe just kind of the way you tell them could really freak them out. So maintain composure.
Right.
It's your body, it's your experience, so no one can really tell you what to do or how to present things, but just be mindful of the fact that they will feed into every word you say. So if it's not something super serious, again, I would downplay the drama aspect of it. Let them know that
surrogate coordinator first, maybe,
absolutely.
And talk to her about like some of the things you're going through, and we can give you professional guidance on how to, maybe address it in a relaxed.
That's exactly
way.
Correct. Give us a call. We'll walk you through the scenario, or even call your doctor as well and find out if it is something serious, how you should address it. So that way, when you call your intended parents or notify them, you have the scenario and then what kind of the solution.
So obviously the surrogate is pregnant and the intended parents, that's their child, but they're not necessarily, they're in the pregnancy, but they're not in it. They're not doing the pregnancy. So how can a surrogate keep her intended parents very involved and make them feel like they may as well be pregnant themselves?
Yeah. So there's a couple different things here that the surrogate can do. Obviously, taking pictures and video when at appointments if intended parents aren't there. Oftentimes, surrogates also like to take pictures. They'll send like the belly bump photos, like the 20-week bump, or they'll take one at every week milestone with like a little message. So doing those things is really helpful. Or offer to wear the belly buds for your intended parents. They can record their voice or music.
Oh, cool.
And
I was going to say, what are those?
Yeah, they can put them. They can put they're like little microphones. They can put them on their belly, and it'll play the audio for the baby. So there's different gestures and things that surrogates can do throughout the journey to bring their intended parents into the fold and make them feel like they're impacting the pregnancy in a positive way.
Sure. Or like a text like, felt him moving a lot today. Would probably be such a great text to get in the morning from your surrogate that the baby's been moving that day a lot. Or I mean, what other cool milestones could you share with your intended parents?
Well, the main ones, so like 6 weeks is very early on. That's important because it's when heartbeat is detected. So that's a really special one to go to. And then usually there's not really a lot of ultrasounds if the pregnancy, and hopefully it is uncomplicated throughout. The 20-week is huge. Definitely try to go to that one. But surrogates should actively engage their intended parents, even if they're out of state, and say, I know you can't come to all of the appointments, nor do I want you to. I'm sure most surrogates would agree that you really don't need or want your intended parents at every single appointment, because a lot of them
are every 2 weeks eventually. That's a lot.
Yeah, Adam and I used to go to the appointments with our local surrogate here in Illinois, and as long as there's no complications, they don't even really do blood work. She would walk in, the doctor would say, how are you feeling? And boom, done. No ultrasound, no nothing. But anything the surrogate can do to help pull intended parents in and say, I really want you at the 20-week ultrasound. Like, it's really important. I'd love for you to be there. Make your intended parents feel like you really want them involved, not that it's a burden or an inconvenience if they show up. And maybe mention to them, if their flight gets in a little earlier, they get in the day before, you would love to have dinner with them and catch up in person. Just saying those things and having those gestures of good faith is just really important throughout the journey.
I agree. So typically we've had great intended parents, but sometimes like intended parents may have like diet expectations or a little bit of exercise expectations. Maybe you can go into a little bit like, what are some strategies a surrogate can do to ensure them that they are living a healthy lifestyle? Something that comes to my mind is maybe taking their kids to the park, and a lot of our surrogates do that anyway. That's the thing that mothers do with young children, and taking pictures of that, sending that to your intended parents and saying, hey, here we are, outdoor activity, I'm with my kids. and make them maybe a little bit more part of your personal life, not just the pregnancy component.
Yeah, and another great strategy too, especially with all the advent of technology and mobile apps, is you can join like a MyFitnessPal with intended parents, and you can track
Great
their
idea.
fitness as intended parents, and they can see like how many steps you get in a day. Depends how transparent you want to be with your exercise regimen. If that's something that is built, your match was built on the foundation of your relationship. Not saying everyone needs to do that, because
No.
not everyone is a gym buff and goes and does all that kind of stuff.
This was like for intended parents that have worked out with their surrogate that there is some kind of exercise diet expectation.
Yeah.
And the surrogate was like, yeah, of course. And then they decide to do that. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, do an app. That's really cool. Or like you said, take photos.
Right. So we deal with a lot of gay intended parents and a lot of heterosexual intended parents. Do you think it varies? So like gay intended parents don't ever see themselves being pregnant. I mean, two gay males is what obviously I'm referring to. And in a heterosexual relationship, it could be a number of reasons why they were going for a surrogate, but it might be because the intended mother was unable to conceive a child on her own. So are there additional things that a surrogate can do to make the intended mother specifically feel more involved throughout the pregnancy?
So there is a difference there. You're right. With gay couples, we never envisioned being pregnant, so we don't harbor any feelings of remorse or potentially resentment. We're just really kind of excited that this woman was able to help us the entire time. Now, with heterosexual couples, there's a different emotional dynamic there at play, because I'm sure you can attest to this. Growing up as a little girl, you always think you'll grow up one day and have a baby.
Yep.
You know that you're able to have a baby in most cases, or you think you're able to, right? Until you go to try, and then it doesn't work. And then you go and see a reproductive endocrinologist, and they're like, okay, here's the issues why. And to make this happen, you're going to need to use a gestational carrier. So that's a daunting realization for many women. I'm sure it like stops you in your tracks and freaks you out. And then you have to come to that realization that you can't hold the pregnancy yourself. So you're putting all your trust into this woman, into your surrogate. For surrogates managing those relationships, I would definitely make sure that if you're working with intended parents where there's an intended mom portion or aspect of the journey, that you have an even more open dialogue with her and address her concerns and really ask what type of communication and updates she prefers. Because a gay couple may be happy to receive every single update, like, oh, I'm getting a cramp, I think it's Braxton Hicks, or here's my belly bump photo. And gay couples are for the most part going to be very excited to receive those updates. An intended mother may not want all of those updates just for her own sanity, her own emotional issues that she may be going through. Not being the one carrying the baby, she may be more prone to having a negative impact of those feelings, getting all of those little updates. So, but that's not every case, but it's
check in with
something
her.
You check in with her. It's just something that it's a component that could be present. So I would say as a surrogate, kind of step back and say, okay, there's an intended mom here. I'd like to get to know more about what her struggles were, why she couldn't carry the pregnancy, and really address her concerns and make her feel as comfortable as I possibly can throughout this whole process, and just kind of wrap your head around that.
That's such a great point. I was in the mindset of you might want to do more for updating an intended mother and get really in detail, but what a great point that might not be appropriate, and you kind of have to see where she's at. Wow.
Or she may be an intended mother that wants even more updates than a gay couple would.
Right.
She may want to go to every single appointment because she wants to be even more tuned in. So it's just there are two different relationship dynamics there, versus a gay couple versus a heterosexual couple, and you really want to know that as a surrogate and then address those concerns head on.
Being very sensitive to that. That's really important to...
and use your agency. If you're... Hopefully everyone out there listening is with Golden Surrogacy or considering using our agency. And even if you're with another agency, tap the agency resources and say, okay, this is an intended mom component, talk to me a little bit about her. How do I make her feel comfortable? Use your agency. That's what we're here for. We will help that relationship.
100%. So as the pregnancy comes to an end, there's a lot of mixed emotions there, especially for surrogates. I mean, it is about the intended parents having a child, but the surrogates are also going through this really, emotional journey as well. It's a life-changing event being a surrogate. That's the feedback we hear from surrogates. It's life-changing. So naturally, there's some anxiety about what's going to happen after this baby's born. Like, I've really grown a relationship with the intended parents, and I would like to stay in touch. And if we do recommend typically the intended parents bring that up and make those arrangements and kind of develop that plan with a surrogate. But if for some reason an intended parent has not addressed this yet and it's getting close to delivery, how can a surrogate address that with grace?
So one of the things is surrogates can talk to the agency and say, I haven't spoken with the intended parents about this, but what kind of updates should I expect, or how can I engage in that dialogue? And we can give them some really great tips. We can do a group or a group conference call and have kind of like a post-birth plan so that everyone's on the same page. We can help finesse that relationship. Hopefully by the time the pregnancy is coming to a close, after your 9 months, you have a really great relationship with your intended parents. It's such that you can just say, hey, after this baby comes, I'd love to get an update, at the first birthday, or anytime he or she does something cute, send me a photo. You won't be bothering me. Because some intended parents might feel like if they're too involved, maybe they're bothering their surrogate. She needs to rest. But a surrogate can very easily just kind of say, I would love those updates. You're not bothering me. Send me photos as you take them. But, don't stress out. I know that you're raising a newborn now and things have changed.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing for surrogates to know, is that all throughout the pregnancy, you'll be very accustomed to receiving a lot of attention from your intended parents. When you text them, you may hear back instantly. You may just have a really great connection with them. And then sometimes what tends to happen is after the baby comes, the relationship tapers a little, and maybe you don't receive updates as quickly, or maybe you go a day or two without hearing from intended parents. Don't take that personal. It's just that now they have this baby, this little life form they're caring for, and they are, in most cases, they're full-time, they're employed, and they're really stressed out. They have a baby now. Yep. And they just need to kind of adjust to their new life. So that it's nothing personal. Again, they're not trying to ignore you. They're just trying to adapt as new parents. So know that going into like your third trimester, know that that's a reality that can happen. And just have that open dialogue. There's nothing to be bitter about, nothing to be upset about.
And it means you did a good job. It means you produced a healthy baby, and now they're taking care of that healthy baby. You've done what you set out to do, and as a result, they're immensely busy and stressed out. So yeah, I guess that's a great approach, is just to establish that trusting, open relationship right off the bat, so that when it comes to a post-delivery relationship, you can just kind of maybe ask. And again, if it's awkward or uncomfortable or not sure how to do it, your agency should most definitely be more than willing to support you through that. And again, do a conference call, or sometimes it's just less awkward if we address it to the intended parents first. I mean, whatever everyone feels comfortable with, but.
Right. We don't want our surrogates going through the program feeling as though they don't have a voice, that they're just, women carrying these babies, and, your emotions, your, how you're feeling, how you're processing everything is very important. And we want, again, to make sure you have a voice and that you're transparent about how you're feeling. And if you don't feel like you can address those things directly with your intended parents, then give us a call, send us an email. We're there for you. We will help those things become addressed, and we will help the situation. So
most of our intended parents and surrogates have maintained relationships past the pregnancy and delivery. And I know that we're still close with Debbie and Janet, Frank and Adam surrogates. So, and we met them, we know them by name, the whole team here. But anything else you wanted to kind of go over what surrogates can do? We talked about sending pictures, being transparent, making sure that if you have an appointment, intended parents don't have to be there, but they definitely know about it. and know how it went.
I would say, overall, my key takeaway would just be to have open communication and form your bond with your intended parents through open dialogue that follows. So, and be nice. To your point earlier, Erica, they, surrogates have, to much extent, a lot of control over the pregnancy. It's their body. They're the ones growing the baby. So there's a lot of trust that intended parents are placing in you. So be cognizant of that. And just be open and honest with your intended parents. Be happy. Be positive. You're doing a really great thing for them. And try to bring them into the fold as much as you can. And I think overall your journey will be a pleasant one, and it will continue beyond, like you were saying with Janet and Debbie. And Adam and I have a great relationship with our own surrogates. We send them updates. The milestones post-delivery are amazing. So if that's the relationship you want, it's definitely possible. You just have to put forth the effort, and you will have a great experience.
Yep. A life-changing experience.
Yes.
So nothing else you want to add, Frank? We think we're good.
I think we're really good. I just want to say that this is our 20th podcast.
Wow.
So that's pretty, bravo.
Very exciting.
And we, for those of you out there who don't know this, we don't record these podcasts on a cell phone or some.
No, Adam would never.
No, we have like a real studio here at the office with professional headsets and mics and a mixing board, and we're doing it for real here.
Learning new things. Like today, I learned a little bit more about the levels that Adam taught me, and we're we're growing and learning, and it's an exciting time for the business. It truly is, and so this is an honor to be part of the 20th. One day we'll be saying 20th year anniversary, but right now it's just the 20th podcast anniversary.
Yes, 20th anniversary. I'll need a lot of wrinkle cream and hair dye for that one. But thank you for following us. If you're out there following us, all of our social media handles are @Golden Surrogacy, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, everybody.